Episode 10 begins with the holograms Rio are on an airplane heading towards China. The reason why Jim's going there is because she's been invited with the Chinese ambassador. Of course, Rio's only regret is that he wishes Jericho were there, but Jim tells him not to worry, that Jericho will be arriving later. And that's when Jim and Rio had admired the marvelous view of the Chinese's best landmark of all. I'm talking about the Great Wall that centuries ago the Chinese had built it to keep out their enemies, and it still stands today. But what the holograms didn't know that also on the plane were Eric and the Misfits. And even though Stormer admires the view of the Great Wall itself, Roxy in the meantime is getting really jealous that, as always, Jim will be performing first as usual. And of course, she can care less about the Great Wall's view itself. Well, good news, both of the bands had arrived at the Chinese airport. The first to get off the plane were Rio and the holograms. You can tell that Jim's fans are very happy to see them arriving in China. The next ones to arrive there to get off the plane were Eric and the Misfits. You can tell the Possessed is not very happy because one of the fans has spelled their name wrong. So the holograms and Rio made it through customs okay, well, except for Jim that was stopped by the guard. When the guard has asked Jim to remove her earrings, but she refused because she now realizes that holograms don't work properly if they were removed. So that's when the ambassador arrived to ask the guard to let Jim pass, and so the guard agrees. So in the black limousine, Eric and the missus are now wondering why wouldn't Jim take off the earrings? And of course, Stormer suggested that there are good luck charms or something. And that's when Roxy, as always, came up with a suggestion for Eric that without the earrings, Jim couldn't perform. So that, as always, gives Eric an idea. So he goes to the jewelry plant right away. Jim and the holograms, meanwhile, were at the hotel taking a mineral bath. So they knew they're going to be performing at the Great Wall later. When Jim arrived later to join up with the girls for a mineral bath, she took out the earrings just as a precaution because she knows she's not going to get them wet. But what Jim didn't know is that Roxy and the Misfits took the earrings away, and when Jim changed it to Jericho in front of Kimber as she got out of the water, and by the time Jericho arrived at the bench, the earrings were gone because she didn't know that Roxy and the Misfits just took them. So now as Jerga, she now realizes that without the earrings, Jim won't be able to perform. So she told the guard that Jim's not attending that day, so that gives the mistress a chance. So when Rio joined up with Jerga later, she made an excuse of why Jim isn't showing up instead of telling him the truth. So now Jerga, hanging her head in shame, decides to walk off. But then Sheena saw something that catches her attention. The mistress were wearing the exact same rings as Jerica did. So after the mistress finished performing, that's when Jerica says, "You have something that belongs to me." Well, if you want them possessed, said, you'll have to come and get them. So that leaves both bands on this sexual chase to have the mistress song along with it with "You Can't Catch Me." So both the holograms and the mistress went everywhere from below the mountains to the top of the mountains. That was until Asha tries to climb up to catch up to Pizzazz until one of the statues fell off. But luckily for the holograms, they dodged out of the way just before the statue was smashed into pieces. Later, as the mistress were boarding the train, that's when the holograms arrived and catch them in the act. That's when both of the members of the holograms and the mistress are trying to get the earrings back. So when they failed, so it's now up to Jerica to go face to face with Possessed, but then Possessed just threw the earrings out the window. And that's when they landed in the trash can. By the time that Jerica and along with her friends got off the train, they went everywhere through China to find the missing earrings with the song "Something Missing in My Life." That was until a young girl's father, oh, the young girl, by the way, is named Lynn, told her father comes home, and that's when she received the earrings, the same earrings that Jerica has, but she was unaware of it. Back with the holograms who looked everywhere from the marketplace to the factory where the earrings were made, but realized they were all fakes. That was until Asha spotted a magazine that catches her eye, and that's when they went towards the museum, and that's when the guard catches them for stealing the earrings. Back with Rio at the Great Wall that Jim was supposed to be performing at, that's when the official told him that if Jim doesn't show up soon, then that means the concert is canceled. And that's when the mistress showed up to insult Rio. So Rio knew that if Jim and the holograms don't show up soon, then that means she's letting all the fans down. Back at the museum after Jerga and the girls were caught by the guard, that's when it's up to Jerga to explain the situation to the museum's curator that what she had belongs to her. So the curator was more than happy to give Jerga the earrings, but by the time she steps outside to try them on, nothing. Zip. So that means it's another fake. So that means Jerga and the girls had to go back to the Great Wall. So meanwhile there, by the time the Joker and her friends arrive, that's when they spotted a fight that catches their attention. That's Lynn. Remember, Lynn was the same girl whose father who just gave the earrings to earlier at his house. So when Jerker approached her, first of all, Jerker was impressed of the skills that Lynn had, and then discusses to make a trade with her. And now, according to what Jerker says, she has bad news for Lynn that Jim may not be attending at the concert she plans. Back with Rio, who's pacing back and forth and worried about Jim, whether she shows up or not. And that's when, again, just like she did before, Pizzazz tries to approach Rio and to make a move on him, which he refused. Back with Jericho, who made a trade with Lynn earlier, she's afraid that the earrings are another fake. But au contraire, that's what Jericho didn't realize that the earrings she's putting on were for real. And that's when Jericho changed it to Jim, they approached the mistress when the official was about to declare the mistress to perform instead. That's when Kimber said, guess what? We're here and we're here to perform. So you know what this means. Jim and the holograms had performed their way as planned with their song Love Unites Us. So after the Love Unites Us song, the fans not only cheered but also lined up to get Jim and the band's autographs. And as promised, Jim gave the plastic earrings to Lynn instead of the real deal. And that makes Lynn very happy. And so that ends episode 10.